Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration on the web series The Princess and the Human. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 22, Let's Jaunt. With a slight thud, Liza landed the shuttle on its designated platform next to the entrance of the Star Palace. Of course, saying that he landed it was a bit much, considering almost all was done by the assistant. Not that he was complaining. A couple of generations prior, him learning how to fly a shuttle would have been unthinkable. He was a mechanic, not a pilot, and no one had a lifetime to spare it would take to master two professions. Nowadays, though, at least simple vehicles like shuttles were pretty much entirely controlled by the computer. As such, learning how to fly one was a matter of 2 or 3 days. Still, even computers were never 100% perfect. So he still allowed himself a sigh of relief as he exited the vessel. After all the trouble he had gotten through to get to this thing ready, the last thing he needed was something going wrong on the very day the ambassador was expected to arrive. At least while he was still in it. But now that he'd parked it, and some of the palace attendants had seen him do so and then leave, in other words, something happening now would neither be his fault nor his problem. "Hey, aren't you, give me a sec, Lazo?" A voice called out from behind him, a soft, gentle voice he very much recognized. "Almost, milady," he answered as he turned around to Lady Mladine. "It is Liza." The alien noblewoman seemed to have just exited the palace and was now coming down the stairs of the main entrance towards him, framed by 2 royal guards. She was also carrying a huge box on her back that was easily double her height. Why was she carrying it and not the guards? "Can I be of assistance?" he asked with a bow. He was not going to repeat the mistake from last time. That much was for sure. The foreigner's expression changed for a moment. What it meant, he could not tell. Before she started speaking again, pointing at the shuttle. "You wouldn't happen to have another one of those lying around?" She doesn't have one already, he wondered. That was strange, considering it was almost common courtesy to give foreign guests the shuttle for their free use upon arrival. "I am sorry, but I'm just a mechanic. I do not have the authority." Before he could finish, Nadine held up a document, a physical one at that, which stated that she could pick any free shuttle of her liking, signed by Her Highness herself. "Very well. We have quite a few of them, but I'll have to check if there are free ones ready to use. But please give me a moment." As he went down to the hangars, Liza wondered what he might have gotten himself into this time. Not that he had anything against Lady Nadine, but there was just so many strange things surrounding her. Why did she act so much like a commoner? And now she was asking for something that she should have gotten at her arrival, yet she didn't seem to be particularly bothered by it. As he checked the console, there was indeed one that was marked as ready. While shuttles meant for guests usually received an extra inspection right before handing it over, this one hadn't been used since the last checkup and fielding, so it should be fine. Technically, it was a breach of protocol, but royal orders overrode that, so it wasn't his problem. He quickly made his way to it and flew it back up to the palace entrance. As he landed, he realized the group had grown by 1, and just a moment later, he recognized Prince Kyerton. "Sure, I don't mind," Lady Nadine said, seemingly answering a question. "But how come— wait, let me guess. Your sister asked you not to be here when the guests arrive." "She didn't exactly ask," the young prince retorted. "But yeah, also, she took my tools away, so I couldn't get them back yet." "Didn't those belong to the palace?" "Which belongs to the royal family, so also to me." "I'm not sure it works that way." The prince merely shrugged. "Your shuttle, my lady," Liza said, with a bow after they were done, and quietly hoping that that would be it. A hope that didn't last long. "Thank you. Say, I'd also need a pilot. Are you free right now? Only if you have nothing else to do," she hastily added. While he stayed quiet, Liza sighed in his mind. Many of the palace servants were just as trained in piloting a shuttle as he was. Why didn't he ask any of them? Or did she possibly not know that and just asked him because she saw him fly it? Actually, now that he thought about it, why was he so against it? Sure, there was still a lot of work to do, but nothing specifically required him to do it. As long as he was acting under orders, he had an excuse. Not to mention, wherever she wanted to go, she would probably stay for a while and then come back, meaning he himself would have paid free time in between. "Nothing that can't be postponed, my lady. Where do you want me to bring you?" What was that forest called again?" The Psalm Forest, milady, one of the guards reminded her. Right, thanks, yes, the Psalm Forest. Liza entered the cockpit and opened the navigation. The Psalm Forest was actually quite a bit away, meaning this would take all day. Well, that's payback for last time, Harriton, he thought as he informed his co-worker about the extra work he would have to do, that he was sorry, but he'd been ordered by a noble, so there was nothing he could do about it. A knock on her cabin door awoke Kaikla from his sleep. "We're almost there," she could hear Quilo's voice from the other side of the metallic gateway. The matriarch stood up from her mattress and donned her ceremonial garments before letting her assistant in. Since he would also be acting as a guard during her stay, he was now in full combat gear and weapon holstered. "Well then," she said, raising her arms upward, "may the goddess watch over this meeting, and may she make Silvani be reasonable." Quilo nodded. "Yes, indeed. Let us hope for the best. But also prepare for the worst," Kaikla added. "She is, unfortunately, not her parents, so we might need our insurance. Have your friends contacted you already?" "They have. Shortly after we got in range," he confirmed, pulling out a datapad. "They did have some interesting intel for me. A few days ago, when the princess returned from her visit to the planet HFY, she seemingly left her secure routes for reasons unknown. They were attacked, and while they were able to win the fight, pretty much all of her guards died. That was certainly interesting. It didn't directly connect the situation at hand, but every piece of information was of value." "Did your contact know who the attacker was?" "Unfortunately, no. But there were no diplomatic fallout afterwards, so the process of elimination would point to the Karoshia. I mean, you know how our parents are. If it was anyone in the Alliance, there would be one member less now." That was certainly true. The Alliance was mainly a pact of non-aggression, paired with some joint operations like guarding the hyperlane entrances. But pretty much all parties of the Alliance had been at some point at war with each other, not to mention the large, fittingly named Alliance War a couple of generations prior that had ultimately led to this pact. There was still a lot of distrust, which was also the reason why the negotiations of every new interplanetary trade agreements were each a war in and of themselves. Were it not for the threat of the Karoshia, the Alliance would have probably crumbled by now. And while the King and Queen of Homne were overall pretty easygoing, they were very protective of their children. Had another Alliance member attacked Silvani, they would have sent out an armada without a second thought, and while news traveled slow across space, Quilo's contact would definitely have known that. "But that is not the important part," Quilo continued as showing her a photograph. "One of the dead guards had a wife, Kyla. She belongs to a former noble clan that fell from grace just 2 generations prior. Normally, she works as a maid at the Sun Palace, but she was amongst the others sent to Star Palace to help with the increased workload of our visit brings. Judging by her gossip, she seems to be not very approving of the way the princess handles things. If we play our cards right, she might be convinced that the princess ascending to the throne could run contrary to her interests." "I play the cards, Quilo," Kaikla reminded him. "So just focus on dealing them." He bowed. "Of course, milady." End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, HenryTheRed, Casper Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.